Heilsa everyone, this is Gary from the Seer's Cave, and I'm just recording this little video of something a little bit different really. You'll notice for a start, you can see me. And I'm just sort of sharing this really because a little strange thing happened with me today. As you know, I've been having some sort of, I don't know, shall I say, challenging times over the last couple of days, and I really am very grateful to sort of everyone that's helped me through that. But it's been a really kind of rough and interesting time at the same time, if that's possible. I had a little something happen earlier on today, which I just wanted to sort of share with everyone. Um, you know, Also, I'm not terribly sort of comfortable visually in front of the camera, so do bear with me. But I mean, my Sunday was interesting because I sort of did my usual thing, kind of got up in the morning. Interestingly, I've actually had headaches for like 2 days straight. It's really annoying. I've done all the usual things, plenty of liquids. I've tried, head, in a sense, a kind of belt and braces approach of headache tablets, but also, quartz crystals, and you name it, I've tried it. And I'm at the point, literally, of chamomile tea, which I do like anyway, to be fair. Yes, it was kind of interesting, really, because I was doing my usual thing this morning and just sort of chilling out and trying to have a relaxing day, and spent some time with my parents, and had dinner, and then had a little snooze, which, in fairness, is something that I sort of normally do anyway on a Sunday. I mean, it's a Sunday, and what are you going to do? I was having a little bit of a snooze, and kind of slept a little bit longer than I anticipated, really. And as always happens with me, right towards the end, I started to have a dream that I woke up remembering, and I can still remember it now. And it was this really, really weird dream, which for some reason, and the gods only know why, I feel compelled to share. I hope you'll find it interesting. I'll tell you a little bit about it, and see what you think. It was strange, really, because first impression I got in this dream was being in this church, and it was in America. Now, I live in the UK. You can tell that probably from my accent, or to some extent lack thereof. I live in the UK. I've lived in the UK my whole life. I've never been to America. I would love to go. There's loads of people, wonderful people over in the States who I know through the internet, and through social media and what have you. And as I say, it's a place I would love to go. And funnily enough, the place in America that I feel most drawn to is Boston, on the right-hand side, the eastern seaboard. Honestly, my geography is terrible. But I've always felt a pull towards Boston, and it's one place I would love to visit. But anyway, so I was in this kind of church building, and I'm visualizing it in my mind now. And it was kind of like this sort of stone building, in a sense, with kind of like sort of stone steps going up, and it had these big sort of wooden doors. It wasn't a church in the sense of how we in the UK tend to think of, like, an old sort of Norman church. I mean, we've got one in Doncaster where I live, which is, you should check it out on Google. It is this typical sort of 12th, 13th century single square towered Norman church that is absolutely beautiful, you know, and it's carved and it's got the stained glass windows and you name it, it's incredible. But this wasn't like that. This was kind of like, you know, that sort of classic sort of image that you get on kind of American sitcoms, I suppose, of the sort of like the normal sort of stone city building. Old, not sort of brand new building, kind of old building, but probably not older than I'd have said 30s or 40s ish. And yeah, so there was this stone building, and I went up, and the doors were open, and I went up and into this church, and in this church I can see it as clear as a bell in my mind's eye. That's why I'm not looking sort of directly at the camera all the time, because I'm sort of visualizing this kind of in my higher mind as I go. Inside it were these kind of I'm sort of, interestingly enough, in my mind's eye, I'm actually stood at the opposite end from the sort of the door now. So if you imagine a kind of rectangular kind of building like that, right? And what I've done is I've walked up these stone steps in through a door at one end, and then kind of now my mind's eye stood at the opposite end from the door, looking back where I'm coming. And there's these wooden benches, sort of oak or possibly sort of dark wood, possibly a mahogany or something like that. Sort of long benches on either side, and a central aisle. And right bang slap in the middle is this big sort of shrine, altar kind of thing. And there's a picture on it. And the picture on it is of a black gentleman. I'm not too sure what the sort of PC way of describing that would be, but basically African American gentleman, if you like, who is holding a baby, and he is smiling, and it's a painting, and there he is, and he's holding this baby, and the feeling I got was kind of like this was a depiction of God, in a way, in this church. Now, that's unusual for a start, because to my mind and to my way of thinking, if you look at all of the depictions of, for example, Jesus, who is someone who I have great respect for, and I say that honestly, even, you know, as a Norse pagan, I have great respect for him and for his teachings, his genuine teachings. You know, I want to sort of add that in now. Not the kind of intolerant, do what I say or else kind of stuff that you hear sometimes from certain people. You know, the genuine stuff. The stuff about love, the stuff about his, you know, caring for his fellow human beings, the stuff about healing people, the stuff about being tolerant and not judging people on frankly superficial things. You know, I have great respect for those ways of, you know, for the message in its sort of pure undiluted form before, in a sense, man got hold of it. But if you look at the depictions of him, he's always this white guy. You know, he's this guy with long hair, and he's got this, you know, thorn of crowns on his head, you know, and that's, I mean, I can see that depiction clear as day in my mind even now. That is the way he's always depicted. Not in this case. In this case, he's this African American gentleman in a suit holding a baby, and he's on this picture, and everyone there is having a great time. Everyone there is happy. I wasn't made aware particularly of what went on in the services, or, you know, or being involved in a service, but I was there, and kind of things, you know, came to a conclusion to some extent, and then people started coming out. And again, I've got this image of this big open space with a door and these stone steps coming down, and people are coming down, and it's almost like I'm stood back outside now. And this outside of this building was a TV crew. You know, the classic thing, sort of, you know, reporter, woman, kind of power suit, the whole bit, you know, with her cameraman, with his camera on his shoulder. That's why I'm doing this. And, you know, sort of news at 6 kind of thing. And they're interviewing people as they come out of this church, and saying, you know, what do you think to the sort of this new church and its, you know, its message and blah blah blah, all the rest of it. And people are saying, oh yes, we think it's wonderful, you know, we're Christians. Here's the interesting thing. Now here's the interesting thing. People are saying in this, they are saying, you know, yes, some of them are Christians, but not all, by any stretch of the imagination, not all of them. There were people coming out of the church who were saying, yes, we're Christians. There were people coming out of the church saying, yes, we're Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims, Jews, Wiccans, all manner of different faiths, you know, quite a list, in fact. And they're all coming out and they're saying, yes, and interestingly, the ones who weren't actually Christian were coming out and saying, yes, but, you know, we're this, but, you know, it's a great place to meet. It's a great place to speak to other people, to kind of commune, to get that sort of, that feeling of, you know, being with other people, you know, even though it's people of different faiths. That really wasn't an issue, you know. The main issue was being with people, you know. And then, of course, they started, the cameraman turned and the reporter starts talking to me. So at this point, in a sense, I stopped being a spectator and I started being a participant in the dream. And I remember very distinctly, I said to the reporter, well, yeah, I'm a Norse pagan, you know, and I love the place, I love the feel of the place, you know, there's some really nice people here, and it wasn't so much that I was getting questions from her, it was more that I was volunteering answers, if that makes any sense. Almost like the questions were in here, and I was just volunteering these answers, you know, like before she was asking. And there's one phrase that stuck in my mind, big style here, which is as follows. I turned around to this woman and I said, yeah, you know, in a sense, kind of the way Christians look at things and the way Norse pagans look at things, it's slightly different. On the Christian side of things, you know, if people are trying to do them harm, if people are trying to, you know, be bad to them or evil to them or whatever, aggressive towards them, you know, they hug people and pray for them. Very simplistic, but that's the words that came out of my mouth. I said, we Norse pagans, you know, we have a slightly different approach. We smash people in the face with a hammer, then we hug them and pray for them. You know, it's which is equally simplistic, to be perfectly frank. But it was kind of this different. I was sort of just noting this sort of difference between the kind of, you know, love and peace and happiness and kind of like, you know, turning the other cheek kind of thing, and the sort of the Norse pagan approach, which is, you know, don't mess with me, you know, and then the peace and the love and the happiness and the you know, kind of thing. I've got some interesting things on the music I've got on at the moment, which is I've got thunderclaps, which is, you'll see, it's kind of appropriate for the the story. I mean, we're up to like 14 minutes already, and I'm barely halfway through this dream. So yeah, then complete change, right? So that's the kind of scene in this church. Complete change. I see another building, this time from the inside more than from the outside. Lots of light. It's like this square building. It's kind of almost like a jewellery shop. If you imagine kind of like a jewellery, high-end kind of Cartier jewellery shop with glass cases. And there's a glass case in the centre of this room, and it has some old artifacts in it. And these old artifacts are Norse. There's little bits of braid jewellery, the little sort of things, little necklaces that they sort of wore. There's brooches, there's all manner of things. And there's this ornate steel hammer, carved the whole works. I mean, this was, in some ways, Mjolnir. This was Thor's hammer. And it's in this glass case. Suddenly, you get these thugs. That's all I can really describe them as. These thugs came bursting in, and I'm stood in this building, and these thugs came bursting in and started holding the place up. Now what are you going to do? If it was in the real world and they had guns, the likelihood is most people would just say, here, take my things, that's fine, go away. But being that this was a dream, and this was tapping more into my subconscious than anything else, I went over to this glass case, slid the lid back, picked up the hammer, and basically waffled them. And went through these guys, literally, in a sense, putting into practice exactly what I'd said to this reporter seemingly minutes before. And just, went through them, smacking them in the face with this hammer. Didn't get shot, didn't get hit, didn't get stabbed, nothing. Just went through these guys like like a dose of salt. And knocked them all out. Boom, change again. Completely different again. And this time, I'm stood in this kind of rocky, but with sort of vegetation growing up, wasteland, confronted by none other than the Norse god Loki. And it's kind of interesting because as I'm thinking about this now, if any of you out there are familiar with the Marvel comic books, which you might be, Loki is shown as to be fair, the comic book depictions are kind of interesting because, Thor is not accurate. If anybody's seen the Thor movie, which is a great film, the depiction of Thor, frankly, couldn't be more wrong. He's depicted exactly as he is depicted in the comic books, which is this tall, blonde Norseman. Forget about it. No. If you look at the traditional Asatru depictions of Thor and the descriptions of him, he has, for a start, he's a ginger. Okay? And I mean that with the greatest of respect to both Thor and to people with ginger red hair. He's redhead. He has got flaming, wild, long hair, You've only got to look at him depicted in tarot cards and rune cards. He's this, this wild-haired guy. Completely different from the sort of chiseled chin, picture-perfect blonde hunk, for want of a term, that he is depicted as in the comic books. But anyway, Loki in the comic books is wearing this kind of green suit with sort of gold bracelets and knee pads and what have you, and this weird helmet with like this huge curling horns. Well, to be honest, the depiction of Loki I saw in my dream wasn't quite that, really. I mean, he was more traditionally dressed, for a start. I mean, there was no green lycra, put it that way. No horns on his helmet, but what there was that I was very aware of was this band, sort of like a silver band here with a buckle, roughly where the Ajna chakra point is, and there he is in all his sort of glory, if you like, and I'm talking to him, and he wanted help with in this dream. He wanted me to help him with something. Now, again, with the god Loki, Loki is one of the key starting factors of the Norse Armageddon or Ragnarok. He is one of the key starting factors of that. You've got the banishing of Loki and the punishment for his part, his direct part in the death of Balder, one of my patron gods. You have got his connection to the frost giants. You have got obviously his children, in particular, the wolf Fenrir, and you've got the Muspelheim fire giant Surt, demon in a way, and when those things combine, after Loki frees himself from his punishment, you've got the start of Ragnarok. And so, in a sense, towards the end of the stories, Loki's whole thing seems to be about bringing about the end of the worlds, the end of the Nine Realms, destroying all of that, and then you get the sort of rebirth after Ragnarok. You've got Balder finally released from Helheim and inheriting the universe that comes after. That's the kind of thing, really. So pretty well, you can guess what's on his mind. He wants people to be in certain positions where they're helping him bring these things about. Now, interestingly, I'm not alone at this point. Apart from him and me, there's someone else, and they've got this spear. And I've got a hammer. So I've still got the hammer, they've got the spear. And we are there, and we're talking to him, or I'm talking to him, and we basically make it very clear to him that we have absolutely no intention of helping him bring about the end of the Nine Realms. Not going to happen. And we turn and we start running. And various sort of things happen in terms of various obstacles we've got to get over, walls that have to be knocked down and so forth. Hammer's great for that. And all the time we get this feeling like, if he wanted to catch up to us, he could do at any given point. And so we get away to a distance, quite a distance away from him. And there he is. Suddenly, boom, he catches up to us. Just as I said, catches up to us. And, what you then get is this situation where my friend, the person I'm stood with, says, well, you know exactly what you want. You want us to bring about the end of the world. You want us to bring about Ragnarok. Soon as my friend says this and points the spear, this bolt of energy comes flying out of the spear, misses Loki by inches, and hits this mountain behind him, and completely and totally shatters this mountain. It literally just into glass shards, just utterly shatters it. And Loki says, so you're not afraid to say the word then? You're not afraid of speaking that word of power, in a sense. And that sort of strikes us as being quite interesting as well. Now, this is the point at which I wake up. So that's the dream, and I've got probably about 5 minutes to sort of tell you where I'm coming from with this dream, because I'm not entirely sure whether YouTube will let me have videos of more than half an hour, but certainly more than 15 minutes, which is good because I've run over that already. Now, the second part of this dream, to be perfectly honest with you, I'm open to suggestions. What on earth all this business with Loki is about, I am really open to suggestions on that one. All I can think is that he is in some ways kind of a representation of temptation, of great power in a dark path, that it's a case of whether, I personally am prepared to follow that, or we, as it's kind of an interesting phrase, light workers, are prepared to follow that. The first half of the dream, which is really why I'm telling you guys all about this business with the church, and this little distinction that I made between sort of, in a sense, the kind of Christian way of doing things and the Norse way of doing things, struck me interesting. It struck me very much like this. It doesn't really matter who you pray to or who you believe in. And I must admit, I'm kind of interested in this, and I've not really sort of unpacked this to many people. So doing this now on YouTube is kind of interesting. But from my point of view, I kind of accept the existence of all of the gods. It doesn't matter whether they're Hindu, it doesn't matter whether they're the Jewish prophets, it doesn't matter whether it's Christ, it doesn't matter whether it's the Islamic prophets, or Buddha, or the Sikh guru, whose name escapes me for the moment, so apologies for that. It makes never mind to me who they are. The Norse gods or the Olympian gods, the two sets that particularly pertain to me, because of my sort of history with paganism. And if anybody's interested in a little kind of potted history of my sort of journey through paganism and wants me to record that, or be it in one video or in a series of videos, please let me know. Comment and let me know, and I'll try to do that for you. I might do it at night, because there's got a window behind me here, and during the daytime you wouldn't see a thing. All you'd see is a blank space here, because the light coming through is just too bright. But yeah, I kind of believe in the existence of all of them. But my point is this: I follow certain ones, as you guys do. And my point is this: it doesn't matter who you follow. In a sense, the message is the same. It has different accents, it has different languages, it has different nuances to it. For example, Norse pagans don't bow their heads and bend their knee to anybody. I've never yet met another Norse pagan who is prepared to be totally sort of deferential and, in a sense, not even to our own gods. The feeling that I've always had from the Norse gods has been one of, they want strong characters. They want people who who strongly believe in themselves, who are prepared to be sort of determined, and they respect that. And obviously, they are respected and they are revered in a respectful manner. I'm not saying for an instant there's any lack of respect. There isn't. Believe you me, there is not. But from my way of thinking about it, it's not about sort of bending your knee and bowing your head and what have you. Now, I'm not saying that's wrong for other people or other particular gods or whatever. I'm not saying that's wrong at all. I'm simply saying that's my experience. But the point I'm trying to make is that the message that seemed to come across was, we all want the same thing. We all want spiritual enlightenment. We all want peace and happiness. We all want everyone to get along. You know, we all want more light and less dark in the world. And it doesn't matter kind of what particular, you know, branch you come from. That's the goal. And it's like that old phrase I keep getting in my head when I think about this, and I definitely am going to run over half an hour here. But it's like that old message of, you know, all roads lead to Mecca, if you've heard that expression before. And yeah, that's the feeling I get. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're Buddhist or whether you're Christian or whether you are Muslim or Sikh or Hindu or Asatru or Wiccan or and whatever branch of Wicca, be it Alexandrian, Gardnerian, you know, whether you follow, you know, whether you're more of a sort of a follower of Crowley, whoever, it doesn't make any difference. We're all trying to get to the same place, ultimately. So why shouldn't we all come together and meet and talk and get along? You know, that seems perfectly natural to me, in fairness. So, quite long-winded. If you've got to the end of this video, well done, frankly. You know, I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts and your comments, your intuitions, your gut feelings, and your experiences that relate to this kind of thing. You know, do you get a sense of what these different dream fragments were about, especially the latter stuff, but even the earlier stuff, which seems clearer to me? Do you actually get a sense of it yourself? Share that with me. Maybe do a video response yourself, you know, you know, let me know what you think. You know, I hope you've enjoyed this little video, a sort of opportunity for a face-to-face chat for a change, and you know, I'll obviously continue to do my sort of cards of the day and possibly some rune readings or some crystal readings. Again, if you have any ideas about that, things you'd like to see, you know, drop me a line, make a suggestion. I want to wish everyone a wonderful day, whatever part of the world you're in, whatever time frame you're in, be it, I mean, it's coming up 1:15 here in the UK, in the morning, that is. Obviously in parts of the States it's going to be anything from sort of 6 in the evening to mid-afternoon. If you're over in Australia, you're going to be into tomorrow already. Have a wonderful day, lots of blessings and love and light to everybody. Have a fantastic time, and light and Friþ, which is Norse for peace, to you all.